morning. I have to restart my Discord, guys. You guys are getting the full face Pookie. Let me change it over so that you guys don't have to see all this. All of it. You're going to see all of it, everything. Okay, so let me get make sure that my Discord's open. That's Spotify. I'm dumb. All right, it is Tuesday. And let me unmute. All right, good morning, good morning. Let me turn my camera on for you guys here in the Discord. We're going to have a good Tuesday, or else. Let me grab I gotta open the chat window so I can see what you guys are saying. Hey, good morning, Adrian. How are you? First off, can everybody hear me and or see my face? Can you guys smell me? Death Gun, welcome, welcome. We are on social media today, so I'm going to be talking to the outside people, the street people. I'm just kidding. I gotta stop that. Smell-o-vision's good. You feel my presence? Okay, ooh, all right. Good stuff. You guys see my monster? I'm trying to get endorsed with my 3 followers. I'm just kidding. Farouk, what's going on, buddy? Charlie of the Mountains. Capitan, let's see who else. You guys got all the cool kids here today. Whew, I love it. Tushar the Joker. I think that's a new name for me, but it seems familiar. How long you been with us? Since August. Yeah, you're new, but how do I remember your name? Is that a character of some sort? I just look back at the chat and I see Charlie saying, "Leave my kidneys where they are." Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate you confirming the monster. Good stuff. Collins, welcome, welcome. First time joining live. Me too, buddy. It's my first time streaming, so good luck. I'm just kidding. You're in the right place. We're here to teach people how to protect themselves in the market and how to grow portfolios with realistic and achievable consistent base hit profits that compound over time. So most traders, when they find us, they're doing stuff that just doesn't work. And then we kind of ask some questions. We kind of put some common sense rules in place. And then each person kind of has to follow their own unique path because certain strategies just require certain traits. And it's our job to kind of help match that up and build your trading plan. But there is an overall structure that we can follow to build that engine. And that's what we strive for here. And there's a spammer on Kick that is tired of, says, tired of streaming to 0. Let's change that only at, and then spam links. No, I'm good. Thanks, bud. But yeah, so welcome to PB. The friendly and supportive community is always here for you. And if anybody ever gives you a hard time, you come straight to me and I'll do horrible things to their bones because we're friendly and supportive, or else. But I'm glad you're here, and everyone else. J Fibonacci PHI, is that just Fibonacci Phi? Is that a Greek thing? Welcome, welcome. Sorry, let me catch up on the chat. You guys are super chatty today. Whew. Stickman, how you doing, buddy? Man, I woke up with my back killing me. I had to pull some yoga out. Oh boy. Well, can't go wrong with yoga. So for those who are new to my strategy on these morning streams, basically I just do 2 trades. I try to do 1 pre-market, 1 after-market open. I use about half my account because I like to keep the ranges nice and tight in most cases. And lately we've just been using the order book and catching momentum trades. There's any number of strategies we can use, but Charlie, I believe, was asking about the order book. So we're going to focus on that. Actually, sorry, let me just make sure this is the right account. Give me 1 second, guys. Un segundo. All right. Sorry about that. I had a little mix up. So yeah, so basically I shoot for 3% daily goal because that compounds insanely well over 250 plus days in a trading year, trading sessions. And that's all I care about. So the goal is just not to lose a bunch, right? And if you don't lose a bunch, then those profits count for more and everything gets a lot easier in the market. So right now what I'm seeing is, oh, hey, alarm clock, how you doing? Good morning, buddy. Right now what I'm seeing is kind of similar to yesterday. Like there's just not a lot of volume this morning, right? Everything's kind of flat. There's little surges in volume, like these little pops right here. and then it just very quickly falls off. So I feel like most of the attention is going to go towards SMXT and YMAB. YMAB is just up. It doesn't really have good volume. It's only 164K. And there's almost a 40 million float on this one. So, this one's just kind of, it happened to pop probably because of a private sale or some sort of, let's see here. What do we got? Okay. Yeah. So it looks like just some offering or private sales. So this just happens to be elevated. It's not quite catching the volume that it may, so it just happens to be at the top of the list for that reason. So I'm going to go ahead and hang out for a little bit, kind of see what's getting the volume. SMXT seems to be the best candidate so far. And everything else is just kind of fallen off. AIP, by the way, if you guys were in my streams for a while, we were kind of looking at this one. I wasn't trading it and I didn't put it out as an official alert or anything. So sorry about that, but they had their earnings, I believe, and it just blasted after hours. So congrats to anyone that did find the setup on that and did trade it. But full transparency here, I didn't put it out as an alert. I just said, hey, let's watch this one. And it happened to go up. So good stuff. Time to get our non-copy trades on. I only commit if I relate. Good morning. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear anybody copying me. Or anyone else for that matter. Just trade what you can justify because it's your money. It's not my money. So don't let me or anybody else compel you to do something with your money that you can't understand, whether it's buying an insurance policy or buying the wrong car for yourself or buying stocks that you can't justify the risk on. It's just good old-fashioned financial responsibility. So what are we trading today? So I just don't really see anything good yet. Everything's kind of flat, That's pretty bad. But that also tells me on mornings like this, there's no pressure. Like we don't have to jump into anything, right? If all this stuff's going flat or sideways and there's no volume, that just tells me I don't have to trade for the next 10 minutes at least. I can always catch something at market open in most cases. If something does get volume into auction cross, then I can trade it then. It's okay. It's just a matter of being patient because I understand the alternative here is that if I do try to force something and I grab something like this and it just goes down, 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 I can very easily just be up here for the next hour hoping it comes back up, right? So we'll see. There's opportunity. I just got to wait for it to reveal itself. That's all. So this is a good sign, right? We could take an anticipatory entry into auction cross, and I'll get it ready just in case. But I'd really like to see it over here, and I'd like, I don't see good, strong stuff on the order book just yet. I see a wall at 133, 138. I see smaller walls at 175, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to see it get over 185 or at least over a new high. So we'll get there. We'll definitely find something. Sorry, let me catch up on the chat here. New time, who got, we got Tuesday mornings off. Oh, is that in perpetuity? Is that going forward? Death God, I'm scared of the red, Pookie. My red streak has been terrible. Your red streak has been incredible, sir. Your losses have been less than 1% every single time, to the best of my knowledge. That is huge, especially for someone who's just been trading for a little while. So there may be a lot of little cuts there, but the fact that you're preserving most of your capital and that those losses are compounding and shrinking is a huge advantage for you. So we'll definitely get you there. It's just a matter of collecting the data for now, studying yourself for now. So the fact that you're kind of conditioned by these reds and you're kind of feeling emotions, that's worth studying because that ultimately is what's going to help you become a better trader. So good stuff, man. And you're not losing a bunch of money to learn, right? You're getting all that experience without paying the market anywhere near as much as I did when I started. So it's good stuff. Do I do this for a living? Yeah, I teach people how to trade for a living. I pretty much just have passive income. I don't have to have a job. But I choose to be here. This is my purpose. I like to help you guys change your lives and give you guys the same kind of opportunity that someone gave me, So it's a nice little pay it forward. If anything, he's like Harrison Ford's Red Hulk. It's nothing to be scared of. Yeah. Oh boy. SMXT going to hit 180? We'll see. I'll watch it. I'll be here if it does. Maybe, unless some other ticker creeps up the list here. But again, I don't really see anything significant moving right now. Like CLAR, the volume is 3. You know, we just can't trade that. Capitan says, I'll be watching LIDR and PSTV closely today. What about those do you like? What specifically do you like about those? The doctor says, yep, work Friday mornings now, but Friday afternoons off still. Oh, okay. That's awesome, man. I'm happy for you. And you're East Coast, so I think our schedules line up pretty nicely. So, Charlie says, no stitches. Is that in reference to the kidney discussion you guys were having? Lobo 70-cent gain, I'll take it. Good stuff. Did you just get that? Where did you get that? Like, is that a long? Are you swinging that one? Oh yeah, exactly, Charlie. Little cuts, no stitches. That's what we aim for. If you need stitches, then it's time to take yourself out and and sit on the sidewalk for a little bit. Sorry, let me just keep an eye on SMXT here. So we are in auction cross, so we're going to see some of that volume ramp up, or should theoretically see some of that volume ramp up. I really do like AIP, but I don't like the fact that it's in the strong downtrend, so I'm just going to have to wait a little bit longer. I also kind of like Lobo. I think that was a good attention getter there. I'm just going to have to wait a little bit. Oh, 70-cent profit. Okay, cool. All right, so you grab some at $1.15. Okay. And you have a plan to manage that risk. I actually like it right here. Now, this one has zone recovery algo setup on it. The volume, sorry, the order book isn't that deep, though. You know, it's a sub-dollar stock. I mean, now it's over $1, but during market hours, it's sub-dollar. You've got the orders go all the way up to like $2, which is great. And then 62 cents. So it's kind of a wide range. But if you look at the, you know, the restricted shares and the free float, it's almost a 2-to-1. So I don't trust companies like this because they could halt and then drop an offering and dilute 50%. Boom. And then you're toast. So it's workable when the volume's there, but this is not one you want to trade into a halt. So good opportunity to just grab some though. I kind of like this one right here as well, SMXT. So I might not get one pre-market. I'll have to wait and see where the volume goes. You know, it's a Tuesday morning. And you guys see it. The volume is just super flat right now. There's just nothing really going on right now with any kind of intent. So you guys know me. I like the volume pushing, right? OPAD. OPAD. I like this one. I think we've, it's a nice low float fella. Don't quite see the volume just yet, but that doesn't mean that we can't watch it for a spike, right? So we'll keep an eye on it. We got about 1 minute and 20 seconds till market opens, so I think I'm going to go ahead and start watching SMXT with a little bit more intent. And Lobo, we'll just have to wait. These just need the volume to come in, right? At this point, do I have anything loaded up? I just have my SMXT pending order here, but I don't have it submitted, if you're asking me. And I probably won't, because I'll be able to use hotkeys here in about 50 seconds. Yeah, I just have this one order down here, but as soon as market opens, I'll just cancel it, and that'll be that. So I've got my 50% market order here in control 1. Wendy, how's it going, Wendy? How's those fibs working out? This isn't an exciting, or Bollinger Band, sorry. I forgot we talked about standard deviations, not fib retracements. That was a different conversation. Isn't an exciting trade, but I've noticed I can pick up 20 or 30 SPXL and hold them until the next morning and sell at a pre-market spike and make a little extra there. Back to, yeah, I mean, overnight, you know, kind of difference trading, if you will. That's a very real thing, and it helps a lot of traders circumvent the PDT rule. But you just got to be careful, right? Because obviously things can happen outside market hours. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this pending order here because I'll be able to use hotkeys here in 2 seconds. So we'll just go ahead and watch SMXT. And I've got my hotkeys set up here. I think I'm just going to use control 1 and control 3 today. I don't think I'm going to use the control 9 with the pre-target. So I'm just really, really closely watching the order book on this one. I think I'm going to go ahead and get in here. Now, this is high risk, obviously, so that volume just needs to surge in and push it up. I don't want to hold this one to the downside. And I'm just going to look to lock some partial profits on the way and then guarantee a net profit. And we'll just go from there. So ideally, we get a push over this high. And the, I got to make that a dashed line as well. Sorry, my microphone's in the way. So if you guys are watching the live stream, you're going to see my face like doing all this weird stuff. And then let's check out Lobo. So Lobo looks a little bit bearish. Not a huge fan of that right now. And then ODAP, you said, or what was the OPAD, right? Offer pad. Yeah, this one's got, it's got good volatility, right? A lot of potential in this one if it goes up, right? It has to go up. Oop, I got to swing back here. Sorry, guys. This one's pushing a little bit. So we're up about 6% right here. So I could lock it for the day and walk away. I'm going to go ahead and lock the bulk of my shares right there. So I've got some portion of them remaining. And I'll just sell the rest of these over 180 somewhere. Okay. And I'm out. I don't want it pulling back. I don't care. So we're done with that one. Let me go ahead and switch this over to the 1 day. YMAB is dumb. All right. So yeah, I think SMXT is probably going to be the golden child, that and Lobo. We'll actually kind of like Lobo. So let's look at the order book here. I don't really see anything substantial in the order book for this one, which is kind of making me hesitate a little bit, but I do still kind of like it. Let me check this box here. Yeah, I think, oh, what's wrong with my, oh well, we'll have to wait a little bit. Maybe we missed this one, right? And that's okay. I don't want to chase this one. I was gonna say it's good, maybe up to like 120 or so, but I don't want to chase this one. So basically what happened there is my my 50% buy on the first trade used some portion of the settled cash that I had. And then I usually go for about 48% on the second one. But for some reason, it was too close to the settled cash amount, probably because there's so much volatility in these low float guys. So Webull said, no, if you do this, you're going to be buying on insufficient. Or maybe, let me uncheck this. Yeah, no, that should work. Let me check something real quick because I didn't have my, I didn't have 100% sell or buy. Or I had 100% sell, but I didn't have 100% buy. So I think it's just Webull being weird. But anyway, they tried to say that I was going to use settled cash to buy shares, which puts me in line for a good faith violation. So that's why I keep that notification up, because I don't want to catch that. So yeah, I think I'm going to keep an eye on SMXT here and Lobo. I think those are going to be the two best candidates. Now, STTK is getting some volume. You know, they're right at that 1-to-1 market cap to volume ratio, but it's not directional, right? So until that's directional, you can see the bots are stacked up here. They're just waiting. You know, their lines are in the water, but there's no bubbles, right? There's nothing's eating yet. So I think SMXT is probably going to be the golden child. This one has the most algo activity. Now, what I don't like about this is that the bigger walls are kind of pinching up here. They're a little bit too high up. Remember yesterday we had the walls down here, much lower on the order book. That's what I like to see. I like to see those zone recovery algos far apart. And I don't mind the small walls up here. I like when they cluster because that's that push-pull. But this tells me that there's a likelihood for this to just kind of hang out in a range and plateau. So I'm going to wait a little bit on this one. Yeah, Lobo and AIP are just kind of doing their thing. It's not that great right now. I really do like STTK. All right, that's a stall. I like that. I think I might trade this one next, STTK. Now it's a dollar stock, so we got to be very careful with this. But I like this structure a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and get my orders ready. And what I don't see, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and get in. Why? 73 shares. What is going on here? I guess I'll just do dollars, right? I'll just get $70. So for some reason, my Webull is just being weird. It's like glitchy. So I'm just going to buy 67 shares of this right here. Oh, I don't know why I'm doing this. I could just sell them with my hotkeys. So this is STTK. I got filled at 103 effectively. And I'm looking for a push over 110, 120, somewhere in that range. And then I'll just scale out just like I did for SMXT. And then we'll just be done. So what I don't like is when it's hanging out down here, right? I don't like that it's getting chopped back down. So one of these guys is absorbing, right? So there's volume threshold tests where they determine whether or not there's enough fills ramming into a level on the order book. And then those are typically ticks. So it'll be like this. It'll be like tick, 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 and then tick, 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 tick. And then when they just get chopped down like that, you know, that means that someone's actively absorbing. So I don't want to see that too much. Now this is a very low float stock. So this, you know, it's not really low float. It's 40 million. It's behaving like a low float for some reason. So, sorry. So that's a little sketchy. But I don't control that. I will have my finger on this though, because Weeble's being weird and this stock's being weird. So this is a high risk scenario here. And again, please don't copy me because this kind of risk is sketchy, right? So be very careful with this stuff. And don't copy me or anybody else because that just doesn't work. Like, I don't care what anyone says. You're not going to be a successful copy trader. It just logically doesn't work out. Okay. So if that's what you're looking for, come talk to me because the person I would rather you copy is your future self, right? Because you're the one that's going to have that discipline and have that skill set. You know, I'm just me and I'm on my end and there's any number of things that could go wrong between me pushing my button and you pushing your button. Okay. So for this one, I'm just kind of looking for a big snap over like 110 up to 120. And there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. But let me draw my line that I always like to draw. I'll draw another one up here at 120. All right. And I'll make this one green because that's what makes the price go up. Because the hedgies can see what's on my screen. And I think I'm just going to dump this one. I don't care. So I'm out. I exited that one. I don't like what it's doing. Okay. So sorry about the wasted time on that one. But we are done trading within the first 7 minutes of the market, which is good. SMXT market open spike is dying off. Yeah, the market just, things are getting a little weird this morning. It's just kind of one of those days where we don't want to push fate too much, right? So Lobo's pushing up a little bit finally, it looks like. It's got a good clean setup, so this may be where all the volume is going to head. Good clean opportunities on that one. SMXT is probably going to do a little retrace. But yeah, I don't like holding any of these on a day like this. I just want to get in and out. And I've done my 2 trades. I made my $7. You know, it's not huge profits today, but it's you know, it's okay, right? You know, we're up 4.67% for the day, and that compounds. I'm over my 3% target, or my 3% goal, I should say. I like what Lobo's doing. Now, I don't have any settled cash, right? Well, I probably do, but it's a very small amount. And my plan is to only trade twice. I don't know why I opened it. I need my notepad, not my... so what I'm going to do now, right, for those who are familiar, let me just put this down here so it doesn't obscure the price stack, the price data in case anybody's trading this one. Because I followed my trading plan, I get to turn today's penny, if you will, to a success, right? So that's my goal, is to get 5 of those every week to the best of my ability. And then what happens is on OBS, I'm going to come over here and show you guys this. Okay, this little counter right here at the bottom, it's going to have 2 green dots, okay? So if I deviated today, if I traded something I didn't intend to trade, or if I, you know, for some reason didn't want to follow my stop loss, or if I didn't take my profits when I should have taken my profits, and that's not based on hindsight, it's when my trading plan tells me to take profits, or if I'm emotional, right? Then my penny would not be moving up, it would be moving down, because that would be an unsuccessful trading day in terms of me following my plan. And that's ultimately what makes you a successful trader. It's not the P&L, because that should work out if you're doing everything efficiently, right? All right, so it looks like Lobo came up here and hit the 120 level, and then starting to see some short-term resistance. It doesn't mean it's a huge sell-off or anything. It's just 1.5 tiny red candles so far, right? We don't know what's going to happen over here. We don't have access to any of this information, right? Could go up, could go down. We don't know, but a lot of traders make their decisions based on guesses, right? And we can't do that. What we do know is that there's a level here. We did see some short-term pushback at that level, and that we've got, you know, areas down here where the price could go. So the price could go up, down, or sideways. If I want the price to go up to form a new high, it's going to have to go up over 130 if we want to trade the momentum, right? If we want it just to form a new high, logically speaking, it has to get over 122, right? So where's the upside downside potential here, right? So if I wanted to go over 122 up to 130 or higher, that is a range of, you know, 8 cents or 6.5%. Now, if I were to take an entry over 122 and use the lows as my stop loss, you know, that's an 8% loss, which means there should be no reason for me to go long at this point, right? Plus, it's actively pushing down, so we don't want to buy red candles if we're trying to trade to the upside. So let's just keep watching the other setups in the market, and we'll see what we can get here. Give me 1 second. Let me just check something real fast. All right, I'm back. Yeah, you know what I'll do? I think I will, just to show you guys, I'm going to trade one share of this one at a time. Okay, and we're going to use this order book business here. So I'm going to watch the $2 level. It's got 66,000 units on it. There's 2 volume threshold tests in the way. They're being actively added to and removed. So 64.53, I'm getting in right here. And we're going to watch this wall push pull, and I have one share. So I won't be scaling in or out. I'm just buying one share at a time. I can do this maybe twice on this account. I got like $4 left in settled cash. So just to show you guys the concept here, I've got a wall at 205, another wall at 210, another wall at 220. Okay. So I'm probably going to look to sell this one around 210 or 220, right? So I've got that level, that range. Okay. So here's 210. Here's 220 roughly. There we go. All right, so I've got 2 levels that I can watch. I'm going to set these orders to the lines to green. Okay. And now we wait. We can zoom in. We can draw a million more lines if we want. We can make it look epic. We can play some Flight of the Valkyries, whatever we want to do. Just make it look cool, right? That's all it's an ego thing at that point. That's what most traders end up doing subconsciously, is they attach their identity to the trades, and then they want it to look good and feel good, right? It's always that escape from stress mechanism that our brains naturally, here we go, I'm out. Now I got a little bit of a late fill on that one. I got filled at 218, but doesn't matter, right? It looks cool because we zoomed in, right? But I think that might have just halted. That's funny. Oh, no, it didn't. Okay, it's one of those fake halts. So that's what most traders do, and very few traders take the time to understand themselves and to identify that, right? Now, those who are with us in Chicago and those who have been in Lifetime and the rags to riches people to an extent understand exactly why that happens. It boils down to the anterior cingulate cortex and the stress response when it comes to uncertainty, right? So we had a very interesting conversation opener yesterday in Lifetime about the difference between feeling safe when you're in control of a loss versus when you're in control of a profit. And a lot of traders struggle when they get all the other noise out of the mix. They struggle with feeling secure taking profits and allowing profits to run also, right? Because we're so conditioned by just being in loss territory and these huge traumas that it's very difficult to experience this new thing and to let it sustain, right? You have to let it live in that space. And it's very stressful for a lot of people. So I'm just going to go ahead and watch this this 230 level here. Unfortunately, I can't trade LIDR. We can peek at it. Let's peek at it. It's good volume. I like it. So this one's stacked ask, and you got one bid. So yeah, I mean, it's got potential. Now, it doesn't have that sustained push, though. Now, the 309 wall got pulled, but you don't have many fills down here. So that's a little bit concerning to me. That's an incongruency. There is free fall potential on here on the bid side. So what I would like to see is magnitude, speed, and a good mix in this scenario, right? Because you don't want this to just get slammed down, because then all these algos over here are going to swap, right? They're going to change their strategy, and that's when things get messy. So let me just swap back over to here. Oops, I missed my 230. I wasn't looking at it. That's okay. We'll just go ahead and watch this one as well. So I've got my order stuff set up here. I think I'm going to go ahead and get in here for one share. They're shooting for 230, but it's okay. I'm going to try to get filled here at 250. So let me just move this line up to 250. And we'll go from there. Now I'm not going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom out so it looks a lot less scary and intimidating. Right? From here to here, does that seem like a huge, is that a huge obstacle? Up in here. It seems like a much smaller range, right? So one of the best things you can do for your mental health is just zoom out. Like, you don't have to be all up in every single candle. You know, but that's what most traders want to do, because we want to hyperfixate. We want to squeeze the most potential out as possible. I'm going to squeeze a monster out of this can. All right. Also, let me ask you guys, who here is ready for Lee's stream on Thursday? So show of hands in the chat. 1, if you've never been to a Mad Maverick stream. 2, if you have. Charlie has. Duco has not. Duco, you haven't? Come on, buddy. Crispy, I'm going to make it this week trying a slow recommit. Good stuff, man. Of course, top. Good stuff. Slow recommit. Also, I'm glad you're here, man. I know it's there's a lot going on, so I'm glad you can make it. You missed a stream last week? Oh no. And yeah, put a 3 in the chat if you're Snowflake. Sad Boy Slim, have many times. All right. Yeah, so basically Lee is doing his free live stream. I want to say again, but it's been a couple of years since he live streamed in free, right? Because he was doing the earnings for a little bit, but it wasn't quite the same as a market open stream. All right, so I'm going to get ready to sell this one here around 250. I'm going to go ahead and lock it in here. It's close enough, right? So I'm all out. I'm done for the day. I don't have to try to squeeze out that last 2 cents. It's close enough, right? That's not to say it's not going to go up to $3. I don't know that, but I do know that it was 248 or whatever, and I don't need to nitpick over 2 cents, right? So there's 250 right there. Am I going to lose sleep over that 2 cents? No. I'm okay with it. Would I lose sleep if my profit was much smaller and I took a loss that was bigger than that? Yeah, because that means my risk reward, my profit loss ratio is upside down. But in this case, it was just 2 cents. I'm okay with it. All right, so let me put I'm going to put a link here in the chat. You guys don't have to do anything. It's just a email sign up thing, so we can send you reminders for that stream so you don't miss it. He's pretty good. So Lee is going to be teaching part of his strategy that he teaches in his coaching. It's a good one. It's if you're looking to expand your profits, you know, that's a great strategy for it. Plus getting safer entries and more consistent trend following strategy. That's a lot easier than doing this stuff. You know, this stuff is good for practicing risk management, and it's good for look at that. It's good for you know, developing the skill set and studying yourself. But if you're looking to optimize your profits and to you know, trade in the direction of the trend and all that good stuff, then that stream is going to help you pretty significantly. So make sure you guys are there. It's going to be at the 9:30 Thursday market open right here in this free channel. I do Tuesdays. He does Thursdays now. I do Monday and Friday in the premium side, and he does Wednesday as well. So it's a little bit of a back and forth. He gets Wednesday and Thursday. I get every other day, basically. It was a good opportunity there on STTK. Congrats. And again, I took a small loss on this one, and that's okay. I didn't have access to any of this information right here in the moment, right? I based my information on what I saw, right? So I'm comfortable with that. I know I'm net positive, and I know that I followed my trading plan. So good stuff. ORGN and CWD, yeah, we'll take a look. This one doesn't quite have the volume yet. At least not directional volume, right? I see the potential here, and it just needs a surge of volume. Big wall here at 113, so let's go ahead and plot that out. These are not entries, guys. I'm just putting lines on a chart here so that we can watch them. So basically the ones at top is bringing to us have the setups, but they don't quite have the volume yet. Damn, this one halted. That's a nice one. So that halted on 100K volume. So that's one that's a little bit scarier, right? It's got sub million float. It's got a 1-to-2 ratio for restricted shares, but it's not sub dollar, so I'd have to look at the company very briefly, see how they're doing cash wise, just to make sure they're less likely to do an offering. This is usually the result of a news catalyst, and I don't see anything here. So we'll keep an eye on it, but halting at 100K volume is scary. That's almost like an OTC thing, right? You'd be very careful with those, but they have some of the best potential because these are the ones that can run like 1,000%, but it's chain halts. So high risk, right? Very high risk. Sorry, let me catch up on the chat here. I entered, this is Duco saying, I entered 103, stopped it at 98 cents, only trade for the day. Good stuff, man. So you risked 5 cents and you took a small stop and you managed that risk. That's insane. I love it. That was on, was that on STTK? Entered at 103. Stopped out at 98 cents. So you got in right around the same time I did, right? And then you probably stopped out a little bit after. Okay, cool. So what you did is you took a 5 cent risk and you got out when the volume stopped doing what you needed it to do to make money, right? And then it just happened to go up after, just like now it's happening to go down, right? So people just bought it up here. And they're going to have, the user experience may vary here, right? Sometimes you're going to be on the top. Sometimes you're going to be on the bottom. Now, ideally, we're not trying to buy the bottom of wicks. That's you're buying stuff as it's going down. That kind of counterproductive in most cases. But there's all this room in between that we can always get a piece of, right? We don't need the whole thing. We don't need to be greedy, but we do need to protect ourselves. And it looks like that's exactly what you did. So I like it. Congrats. Now, your position size, right? That's the other major component of risk management. When you traded this, were you using a reasonable position size? You said it was your one trade for the day. Was it full port or was it a smaller position? There's no wrong answer. I'm just curious. Top says, was waiting for ORGN to break 87 cents. Ooh, okay. Retest the level and a little jump to look for. Yeah, I mean, I could see the potential in this one for sure. It just needs that volume, right? So you got a wall up here, 113, plenty of room to gallop. And this is one of those stocks where the volume is just inconsistent, right? So it's a little bit sketchy. But when the volume comes in, every time it pumps in like that, there's a chance for it to sustain, right? And if it sustains, that's when you get those massive moves to the upside, like on CWD. Now, in this case, it's all just directional, just halt volume, right? It's just going halt to halt. But that's the kind of volume that you'd like to see on things like ORGN, when there's just that, think of this like a spark, right? Just a little spark here, little spark here, and then eventually it ignites. And then, boof, you've got a huge fire going, right? And that fire just turns into a rocket, right? In a lot of cases. Now, there's going to be some push-pull along the way, obviously, but that volume really is the determining factor. Okay, so Duco says it was 75% or something like that, trading in my dollar. Okay, so you're on that $1.50 account, which is now a $1.44 account. That's good, though. I mean, you're not taking significant risks, So if you can only buy one share, that's, you're automatically protecting yourself. And I don't care if you're on a $600,000 portfolio. If you just want to trade one share at a time just to get the practice and master that skill set and identify things within yourself, I encourage it. I can't legally tell you to do that, but I can tell you your CPA is going to hate it. But what do they know? Popping in and out, trading less for right now and focusing on the business. Yeah, I'll be back in the mornings. Just got to make some money and focus on work. That's awesome, dude. I'm happy to hear that. We'll be here, right? There's never any pressure there. You definitely take care of stuff outside the market first. That's rule number one, right? Make sure you're secure outside the market. It is very easy to let the market in. I'm not just talking to you here, I'm talking to everybody. It's very easy to let the market in and then to just let it take over, and you don't want that. It does not end well. So yeah, that's good stuff. This is a side hustle that changes our lifestyle. It is not a lifestyle that makes us take on extra side hustles, right? We got a little pop going on here so far. All right, so obviously I'm all out of settled cash for the day, so I can't trade this, but this would be a good opportunity in my opinion. Let me just draw that out. Don't trade it, just watch it. So the red candle rule, we could modify that a little bit for a little bit of a green candle rule here in this specific case because the volume allows for it. And we've got order book structure here at 240. So let me just draw this. Again, don't trade this. It's high risk. So don't let this fool you, right? There's still all this room for this to fall. Okay, so don't get caught in that trap. It's almost 10 o'clock, so all the successful day traders are leaving, and that leaves you with surrounded with people that are trying to make their money back and algos that are designed to exploit them and each other. Okay, more so each other. So definitely don't feel like you have to trade everything that I put on the chart. So, but let's just watch it. So let me catch up on the chat here. They don't look at my transactions anyways, just that first few pages of the document. Well, that's not good. They're supposed to be looking at all of it. Wendy, we're leaving on vacation in a few minutes, so no computer today, already packed, and very reduced usage for the next few weeks. I've let the stock market take way too much of my life. I just love it, but this is our vacation, and it's important, so I need to let go just for a few weeks till we're back home. Wendy, that is beautifully written, and that's exactly the mindset that we need to maintain, right? It is very, very easy to just slip into that comfort zone where we're dealing with the market, and we're not handling it, right? It's handling us. So I'm happy to hear that. The fact that you're prioritizing living your life and being in the moment and enjoying your vacation, it is absolutely what's most important. Time is a finite currency. We don't ever know the balance, but we spend it constantly. Sometimes we waste it, but money comes and goes. I've been homeless twice. I'm where I'm at now. Things are very variable when it comes to money. Time is linear, and it accelerates, right? Or the perception of it accelerates, I should say. So definitely enjoy your vacation. Enjoy your life. Don't ever become a slave to the market. And part of your trading plan should be recognizing and just doing self-awareness checks. Hey, am I still me, right? Is this taking over? And if it's not, that's what we're here for. We can help you kind of figure out specific things to look for. So it's not just this vague concept of, am I a slave to the market? Is it taking over? But we can look for specific things. Do you find yourself staring at charts for hours every day? That is not healthy. Don't do that. I don't care if you've been doing this for 20 years. You don't need to be looking at the chart for more than an hour. Right? But nobody out there is going to say that, because that's bad for business for, YouTube gurus that are trying to shove products down your throat. They want you staring at indicators. They want to exploit that addiction, right? So if you're staring at charts for hours, you are putting in a lot more work than you're being compensated for in the market, right? Which means you're detracting that time and that focus from other areas of life. Okay, so the market is here. It is going to be here long after we are, right? It should be a side hustle, in my opinion. That's the only way you're going to make this work long term, is if you don't prioritize it, right? Prioritize developing the skill set, prioritize the psychology, but don't prioritize technical analysis, because that's the most addicting part, is people just looking at shapes and colors. We become goldfish at that point because we just like to see stuff move, right? We need that validation. It's a constant drip of dopamine. So like this right here, a new trader would be staring at this, be like, oh, it's going to go green. It's going to pop over this level. I just know it. I'm going to look over here. I'm going to look down here. I'm going to look over here. I'm going to grab this chart, this chart, this chart, this chart, this chart. Yeah. And before you know it, you look at the clock and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And, you know, you're like your kids are just wandering around trying to find food. You know, like it's very easy to slip into that. And it's very dangerous, you know. The technical analysis side of it should be very simple. Like, you don't technically need anything, right? And you guys saw it in Chicago, right? I literally hid the chart. I think we covered it up with, I think we put, what was it? I think it was corporate actions or something. We covered that up. We covered this up. I think we minimized this or something, or maybe this was still up. I don't remember what it was. All we had to focus on was that P&L, right? Tammy got into trades and she got out of trades. I got out of the first one. She got out of the remaining 3. We took 4 trades, I believe. She had a 67% win rate on her trades without any information at all. And it was a much less stressful time. Austin was freaking out the whole time because of his childhood and stuff, but which I want to study him. But you know, we just have to understand what parts of our brain want what, and it's all that little dopamine-seeking drug addict, effectively, that's sitting in the nucleus accumbens in our brain, and he just wants that dopamine, right? So we got to tell him to go somewhere else to get it, and that's not a problem. But most people end up in an abusive relationship with the stock market, and it takes more than it gives. And we have the power to identify that. We have the power to acknowledge it, put words to it, and then put specific boundaries in place and say, if you don't respect these, I'm going to have to take action, and it's over. Like, we're going to have to just take a break. You know, we'll go to therapy, whatever. And then we can ease back into it, but you're not going to dominate my life anymore, you know? And that's something that a lot of traders just don't have the awareness to recognize. And then it becomes, I don't want to say too late, because it's never too late, but they feel like it's too late. And then at that point, they're just desperate and, you know, taking out loans and all kinds of stuff. So can't be doing that. It's not good for you long term. And that definitely doesn't align with your goals of making money in the market, right? So that should be your guiding, that should be your North Star in the market. Does the action I'm taking align with my goal of making money in the market long term? Or am I working against myself? Because every time you work against yourself, you have to do that much more work, and that much more time goes towards undoing that, right? Sorry, let me catch up on the chat here. I know I'm like rambling, but I had a monster, so you guys get everything today. Can't say I've ever looked at charts for more than 10 minutes in a week. See, Duco, you're doing that right, man. It's just a casual side hustle, man. It's very, very easy to just let this take over, and we don't want that. This has nice juice. So this one, for example, if we're using our red candle strategy, the risk is a little bit larger, 1.82%, but that's okay. I mean, again, I'm just going to draw this here just so you guys can see it. This is not a copy trade. Please don't do that. I'm just showing you potential for minimizing losses, right? So if your last loss was 26% and you're tired of taking 26% losses, there's no reason you can't just take 1 or 2% losses going forward, other than maybe you just don't know how to do that, right? But that's what we're here for. So sorry, let me catch up on the chat. I just get so distracted. I'm just like, let me catch up on the chart for real. Crispy, it is an addiction. Pookie's right. Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff, man. Yeah, Duco, 10 minutes a week is awesome, man. Because once you figure out how to make the profits, 10 minutes a week leading to, you know, life-changing money long term, that's pretty nice. Crispy, if you let it make you addicted. Yeah, and that's it. There's always a choice. It's not the same as, you know, like there is a chemical change in the brain, but it's not as, I don't want to say it's not physical, like opiate addiction, because there definitely is a change in the brain when it comes to trading and any addiction, but it is less. It's less physically compelling, right? If that makes sense. Like it's an easier physical addiction to break once you reframe things, and once you like there's less dependency on an external substance, if that makes sense. It's a very literal dependency on the neurotransmitter that your brain already makes, if that makes sense. So well, a couple of them, I guess. There's a good mix of processes involved, but it's nowhere near as substance dependency as something like heroin. So it is a little bit easier to address, but you still need to put in work. It still has to have a structure to it, and it all starts with kind of acknowledging it first, you know. So Wendy says, it's so hard. I love the stock market with a lot of exclamation points. This is vacation though. Yes, you have to love yourself as well. We're going to bring our two youngest, 10 and 13, to see the Grand Canyon, Redwood Forest, then flying. Flights are so cheap right now. Yeah, to Maui. Okay. And you're going to camp there for 16 days. It's been years since we've had a real vacation. Can't wait. I have to stay off the market. I tend to watch the market way too much. It's so enjoyable. Yeah. And that's, so Wendy, when you're looking at the chart, I know you said you have to leave here in a little bit, so don't feel like you have to answer this, but what kind of thoughts do you tend to have? And everyone else can answer this too, if Wendy's not here anymore. What kind of thoughts do you guys tend to have when you're looking at a chart, even if you're done trading for the day? Oh, hello, you're here. Good stuff. You have a lot of addictions, but charts is not one of them. That's good. That's good. What's going on with SPY? Let's look at SPY, right? SPY is the number one destroyer of souls here. What's number two now? CWD. Oh man, look at top. You're an animal. That's beautiful. 75% out. Good stuff, man. I love it. What's that, like a 32% profit? 46? I was close. Good stuff, man. That's good volume on that. Whew. I'm not trading it, but congrats. I can be very, very happy for top without needing to trade it myself. So congrats, buddy. That's awesome. JWAG says, I need to make some money, in quotes. So he's answering for anyone who's watching the live stream. He's not like, he's not demanding money right now. He's just saying that's one of the thoughts he has when he's staring at charts. Unknown ass, hungry for the next move. Yeah. It's a delightful username. I love it. I like watching the ones I trade. So if I see a particularly good setup, I tend to trade it again. Okay. So you're kind of a recycler, right? You have like a familiarity with those tickers that you want to trade. And that could be good, right? Because as long as it's something that you can become familiar with and identify the patterns and identify the red flags, then you have a good reduced environment to trade, because you're not having to look at new tickers. You don't have that same part of the process in the mix to stress you out of, hey, what am I going to trade today? Like you guys see it on my live streams. If I'm live trading these momentum trades for you guys, I have to spend time looking, at the pre-market list. I have to watch the volume for a little bit to see kind of what's increasing in volume. I have to assess their market cap and volume ratio, and I have to look at the percentage change and kind of gauge a delta on that as well over time. So I just have these little calculations just constantly running in my brain pre-market as I'm talking to you guys. Damn, top, that's up over $5. Good stuff. Congrats, man. And if you're just trading something that you're already familiar with, you don't have to worry about that, because you know exactly what you're going to be looking at today, and you know exactly what to look for. It's just a matter of finding those low risk opportunities, and you have familiarity with the company. So maybe you change that part of your process where, instead of looking at a list of tickers and assessing the volume, maybe you're looking on social media. Sorry. Maybe instead of doing that, you're then looking at headlines and catalysts for that company. Maybe you're looking through the comments to see the public sentiment, which doesn't really matter. Maybe you're looking at a calendar for upcoming catalysts that you've marked out that company might have coming up, for the week. Maybe they have earnings coming up on Thursday, right? Like that's the same step of the process, but it's a different component altogether. Like it's I always like to use a machine, building an engine as a description of the way that we do things here, right? I show you guys my engine. I break down the types of parts that it has and the specific parts that it has, but you guys can't use that engine. It's like the guns in Judge Dredd. Like it's very signature oriented. If you pick up my engine and try to use it, A, you don't even know where the fuel goes, right? You don't know which fuel to put into it. And then it's gonna not work for you, right? Now I need you to step next to me. We'll look at this big table, right? It's got all these machine parts on it. And I could say, okay, you need one of these. And then you look at this group of components that are in that group and say, I like this one. And we say, okay, well, let's grab that one. That tends to pair well with this one, but you need one of these also, right? And then you need one of these, and these. So you need these 5 components, right? Which ones specifically you pick from is up to you. And then you put them together, you test it for a little bit, you collect data, you identify the gaps, the holes where it's shooting smoke. You identify the right fuel instead of just dumping it all over the top of it and hoping it doesn't blow up. You spend little bits of time, little amounts of fuel, just fine-tuning it, optimizing it, troubleshooting it, and then replacing parts as needed until the machine runs smoothly and your turbo housing is cracked. Yeah. And that's my job, and that's Lee's job, and that's Nikki's job, and that's Bull's job, and that's Porter's job, and Austin's job, and Duck's job. We're here to help you build your engine, but that engine has to be based on you, and it's not something that we can just give to you, which is where it kind of makes people discouraged, because a lot of people just join a Discord expecting to just get, oh, buy here, sell here, and you'll make millions of dollars, right? Because that's always the pitch on social media. We're more of a rescue shelter from people that have been burned by those. And that is insane top, by the way. 35% for 75% of position. Very risky play. Yeah, I mean, you're doing really well here, buddy. That trade was immaculate. Good stuff. So for you, Wendy, specifically, that part of your machine doesn't have to involve looking for new tickers all the time. You have a very specific type of component instead that says, here's one that I like. I'm going to learn a lot about it, and I'm going to trade it very specific ways, right? I know what the risks are. I know what the rewards are. They line up in my opinion. And then I just practice and collect data, right? That's your job. How does the chart respond when I see certain configurations, and how do I respond when I see certain configurations? And does that response influence my decision-making and my ability to execute? And then you say yes or no, right? And then that's your thesis, right? And then you go out and collect data and say, okay, this data supports my thesis in that I am able to execute without problems, without deviations. Therefore, then I look at the P&L, right? And say, okay, well, is it profitable, right? Because it's always the next step. Everybody wants to make money. And then if it is profitable, that becomes your trading strategy and you're done. And then it's just a matter of doing it hundreds of times, right? If it doesn't make a net profit, you look and see, did I collect enough data? And then you say, well, what within this data is causing it to be net negative? And it's usually the result of losses that are too big. So how can I reduce those losses? And then you say, okay, well, I'm going to try this new strategy. And you just rewind a couple steps and you swap out that component. Say, okay, well, instead of doing this, where maybe I look for a Bollinger Band break, right? Maybe I use a moving average with a small red candle. Or instead of that, maybe I use, a fair value gap. Or instead of a fair value gap, maybe I use a volume order book break, or any number of strategies. But it's all about just reconfiguring this engine until it's efficient. And that's why no true traders are the same. Like Top is constantly looking at new tickers. He doesn't really care too much about the fundamentals of a company if he's just trading the volume, and he's very, very, very good at that, as you guys see. Like he's a monster. I can't stop him. But I don't want to either, because I just want to see how far it goes. It's awesome. But those are two completely different approaches. Sorry, let me catch up on the chat. And yeah, unknown ass. That's kind of what happens, right? You get with these low float guys, you tend to have consolidation of volume, and they'll the volume will kind of spread out, and it's major institutions. They're just setting algos up on these. What they'll do is they'll look for they control the ranges and stuff. They accumulate and distribute, and they displace the price, and then they range walk it. And then when the volume is no longer sufficient to justify holding it up there, they'll swap the algos over to another ticker that has higher volume or a more efficient volume, right? And in this case, it's CWD, right? You guys see how sustained this volume is now? That's what I was talking about. So if we look back here, right? Spark, nothing, little spark, and then here's the fire, right? This is where you get the strong directional movement. Now it's starting to ebb off, right? So these algos are no longer as present on the order book, so they're swapping over to somewhere else. So let's look and see if we can find them. We got nothing on this one, nothing on that one. I'm willing to bet they just kind of hop back over to SMXT. So this tells us, okay, let's focus on SMXT for a little bit, and let's just draw some stuff, right? Let's just see what happens if we draw stuff. So let me just draw that stuff, and then we can look here at the order book and say, okay, well, does this line up, right? We got a wall here at 240. I got another wall here at 180. I kind of like it, right? So let's draw, well, we got 240 line. Let's draw the 180. Okay. And this becomes our range that these algos are monitoring. So are we in the lower half of that? Yes. Do we have a small risk opportunity? Yes. Can we trade it to the upside when that volume surges back in? Potentially, right? We still need that volume to come in. So again, don't copy trade. This is just a drawing for illustration. But when that volume comes back in, this is where the algos are. This is where the volume is likely to push from, but this can change at any time. And that's why it's very dangerous to anticipate. All these algos could just pull right off of here and go right back over to CWD, right? Because this could just as easily be a little pull off, and then, maybe just a slap back to the upside. You've got a major wall here at 425. You've got a minor wall here at 525, 530, 544. So they're starting to creep back over here. So this is where it gets dangerous if you're trading past like 10 a.m. So what we can do here is we can just pull them up side by side, and you can literally watch the volume surge from one ticker to the other. Okay. So just a little topic for discussion there. Let me catch up on the chat. Sorry. Duco says, I have an inline 6. My turbo housing is cracked. I have major boost leaks, and I'm running way too rich. Yeah. He said, I'll stop. Don't stop, Top. You don't even know a fraction of his power. No, you're good, Defcon. You do what you got to do, buddy. Yeah. So now, Duco, it's time to look at your engine, though, right? We have identified that naked options are kind of causing, you're throwing rods, right? Left and right. It's over 9,000. Maybe not. So that's something that we can identify, because if you look at the data and say, is this working for us or against us? And it's working against you primarily, that part can at least get cut out, right? There's nothing wrong with just stashing money in a savings account until you figure this stuff out, right? You get that 1-2% yield, or a high yield savings account, maybe you get 4%. Maybe you throw it in bonds, CDs, whatever, right? There's other financial assets that are not the market if you're just looking for a place to park cash, right? Then you say, okay, well, if I wanted to trade something relatively consistent, there's the wheel, right? There's passive options, there's spreads, there's bulls calendar press, there's any number of passive option strategies. There's dividends, there's 30% minimum. The dude is making about 30% a year on that, just parking his cash and not touching it. That's a beautiful thing. Meanwhile, everyone else is busting their ass all year, all 252 trading days, and they're making negative. He blocked me from his calendar press, guys. I think that's only because it was a Trader's Paradise exclusive thing, unfortunately. But I will have him block you. I will make him like, you remember Duco? And he's like, yeah, man. And we'll say some stuff. Let's leave it at that. I didn't have anything good to say. So. All right. But yeah, so I mean, there's a hierarchy of risk here, and naked options are one of the most risky things anybody can do. And that's where most traders find themselves within a year. And then it's no coincidence that 90% of traders fail within their first year. It usually starts to end on the day those options get enabled. Now, it's very easy for me to say that because I'm up here and I've been doing this for 15 years and I absolutely trade options. But without risk management and without, consistent execution, you're going to have a much harder time. And it's unnecessary. That's kind of the root here, is that it's just not necessary. It's a nice to have. And if you build an account up to the point where you can absorb those hits, that's great. That's when you should absolutely start looking at naked options, in my opinion. But if you're on a $500 account and you're trading $300 contracts and you're letting them drop 60%, you're going to have a hard time, so just don't do that to yourself. All right, so it's about 10:20. Does anybody have any questions for the day? I will have to hop off here in a little bit, but I appreciate you all hanging out, and I want you all to have a good, safe day. So I also want to show you guys one specific thing here. Right, these two setups use the same exact strategy. Now they're a little bit skewed because the price axis moved up. But look very carefully at this 3%. Sorry, the 1 to 3 ratio here, this 7%. Let me zoom in on that. I guess it's kind of hard because it's like skewed. This and, well, it's supposed to be this. Sorry, I moved it over a little bit. Okay. Now we're cooking with gas. Did these two have anything different about them other than maybe a little bit of risk range? These two setups right here. Deathgun, why can't I find any setups? It's a lot harder after 10 a.m., buddy. I'll tell you that much. Does everyone agree that these are relatively the same, these two setups? Now, ignore the wick here. I mean, that's all part of the same risk range, but they're about the same, right? Does anybody disagree with that? The stocks you're showing are overbought or too high. That is that's kind of not a legitimate concept, if that makes sense. Like when you say overbought, it does express some stress in the price, but it doesn't necessarily mean that something is due for a pullback or that it's, like it's kind of a misunderstanding that a lot of people have. But no, I don't believe anything is ever too high because it can always go higher, right? It can always go lower as well, but that's not my job, right? My job is not to try to predict where that top is likely to be. And when we look at things in terms of overbought, overvalued and overbought, that kind of sets an expectation or a bias, right? And that bias hurts us. So what I can look at instead is say, okay, I've got this risk size. Okay, the trend overall was going to the upside. Therefore, I have a potential for an outcome that is disproportionately more profitable than risky, right? So in this case, if I say, okay, these two are exactly the same in terms of setup, I can then look and see which direction it goes. This one would have stopped out. This one would have hit profit, right? So it's circumstance. After you get in, it just becomes circumstance. And then your job is to look for reasons to get out. So in this case, your reason to get out would be the stop loss. In this case, your reason to get out would be the profit, right? Because in the moment, this is what you have to base your decisions on. Does that make sense? Like your job is not to try to predict what's off to the right of this, and it's not to base a bias on what's to the left of it, if that makes sense. Your job is to focus exclusively on this risk and whether or not it's worth it. And then once you, like that's phase one of your brain, right? That's your only job, is to find low risk opportunities that make sense and have higher potential than risk. And then when that part of your brain says, okay, I approve this, it signs off on it, it does the paperwork, it sends it over to the executor pushes the button, and you get into a trade, right? That's step 2 is execution. Then the next part, like your brain transitions over into a different mode altogether. And your job then is to prioritize getting out, right? Whether it's to the upside or downside, it doesn't matter. It's the same process of getting out. You just happen to have 1 or 2 outcomes that you've accepted ahead of time. Does that make sense? But all throughout the trade, we're going to have all these different emotions and all these different rationalizations that tempt us, and they compel us to take action early, or they compel us to hesitate and take action too late. And that's where people get messed up. And that's just a result of the uncertainty loop and all that good stuff. So when it comes to a trade, if my goal is to enter and have a defined exit in one of 2 directions, and I know that's going to get hit one way or another at some point, this is all I care about. So when I get in, all I care about is this middle line. It's over here, right? And then my job becomes to get out, and then I stop caring about this middle line altogether. Okay? These are action lines. So in terms of risk management and risk exposure, these red lines are exactly the same. Okay? And that's the mindset that we have to chase as developing traders, because this is the most difficult part, is to say, okay, rather than viewing this as a profit and this is a loss, this is an exit and this is an exit. They're exactly the same. Because if everything else lines up perfectly and I'm doing things consistently and deliberately, and all my reasons make sense and they align with my goal of making money in the market, the P&L should work out on its own, right? So if that's all I'm focused on, and I take action when I'm supposed to take action, and the chart is telling me that, because it's always going to be right no matter what, I don't need to worry about, mastering any specific strategy, right? So for this one, as an example, right, CWD, it just continues to go. And there's no reason to be afraid of it necessarily, that it continues to push higher just because it has gone higher, right? It's got strength. It doesn't mean it's going to, magically develop weakness, or that it's going to keep going either, right? You just have an opportunity here where you've got massive amounts of strength. You've got multiple opportunities here with low risk. You've got, all kinds of, volume, right? And as long as that volume sustains, the direction sustains, you'll make money. If the volume or the direction goes the other way, you lose money. But the amount you lose should be much, much smaller than the amount you gain, and you'll have a good time overall, as long as you can master that and not anticipate and not, overreact and do all these crazy flailing things that our brain naturally wants to do, because we don't handle uncertainty very well, right? And I kind of used the example yesterday in Lifetime of a house fire. Like once we smell smoke or we see a little bit of a flame, a lot of us are conditioned that, oh, it's fire mode. We got to immediately smother it or run out of the house, grab our valuables, and take off. That is the instinctual reaction to fire that most people have. Now, there's another side to fire in that it allows us to cook our food, right? So if someone's lighting a grill for food, you don't want to smother that. Just, you have to break that habit at some point, because that's going to prevent you from eating, right? And that's what we're here for. So I personally just don't believe in overbought and all that stuff. It's the same as, due for a pullback or due for a bounce. It's not a legitimate concept in the way that most people assert it or understand it. There is retracements are a very valid part of supply and demand, but they shouldn't be used for timing, if that makes sense. Like, it's a very hard concept to articulate here, but don't ever feel like you have to make the assumption that something is going to top or bottom anytime soon just because you happen to be looking at it, right? You want burgers and say, absolutely, fire can be good. It allows us to make metal, and metal allows us to make sculptures of it lets us make grills, and then we can make more food with it. I keep forgetting I'm not playing games right now, so I can't talk all that smack. Well, let me ask you a question. No matter how high up this is, I don't care if it's 1,000% up. Does this risk size change at all? The answer is no. So why would I need to have any more emotion about it than any other risk that I take anywhere else in the market? If I use the 1% rule, all my losses are 1%. Right? The profit is always going to be larger than the loss. So I don't have to worry about, that specific one being the absolute top and then having it sell off all the way down here and, and all the panicky stuff that we tend to find ourselves experiencing, because that's what we're used to. We've experienced it before. And a lot of times, and this is something that a lot of brains don't seem to store properly, right? A lot of times when you experience a big loss like this, it's usually not the top early on. It's usually something over here where you were in profitable territory for some period of time and you just didn't lock the profit. And then it went all the way down into the depths of hell. And that's the emotional experience that you remember. That's the part your brain stores. When you're up here, we're going to focus more when the stock goes a little bit closer to our target and then goes red, because that's just part of how our brain works. So shorter term, that's what we're going to store and that's what we're going to dwell on. But a lot of those early experiences were probably something like this, where you're probably 8, 9, 12% up. And then you watch that profit disappear and go much farther down. Right. And that's a result of swings and, just longer trades where we're less focused on the market. And then once we get more focused on the market, we see stuff like this, where the price almost hits target and we don't take our profit and we watch it disappear. But there's all kinds of emotions between this point and this point that that we shouldn't have to deal with. Right. Because again, if my job here is to enter there, stop out here, or stop out here, right? Because I've got 2 points of action here. I've got an entry and I've got 2 exits, right? And I've accepted them both ahead of time before I get in the trade. But all of a sudden, if I'm, up here and I'm feeling feelings, or I'm down here and I'm feeling feelings, and neither of these action points were hit yet, that is extra stress. I'm showing up, I'm putting in more work than I'm being paid for. And I don't like to hang out at my job after I clock out, right? That's not my job. I don't want to give extra time and attention to the market. And, I'll show you again. We'll just use another example. Same exact approach. And we'll watch it in real time. Okay, here's the entry. There's the stop loss. And there's a target. So we're in at this point. So we're in phase 3 at this point. We've already taken that action. All we care about is these 2 levels, right? 754 and 615. They tell me to do the exact same thing. And that's just to get the hell out, right? So do I need to do anything or feel anything or think anything or even watch the chart while that's all happening? Or is this exposing me to more analysis and enabling that addiction? Sorry. So that I can constantly give my brain dopamine by studying this chart and having anticipation after anticipation, right? That's where we go wrong. And that's why setting brackets and walking away can be one of the healthiest things you can do, or not trading stuff that's moving fast, right? Has this sold off yet? Has it gone down to the depths of hell because it's overextended? No, not yet. We're starting to see some larger red candles and we're starting to see some volume here, but it hasn't sold off yet. Instead, we see opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and all those losses can be nice and small. And when the stock decides it's time to sell off, we don't take a big loss from it. So we don't need to be afraid of it. It's just, get your body in front of the ball, take the hit every now and then, and just try to get those base hits when you're up to bat. So it doesn't mean you have to be a complete psychopath and not care about losses, but you shouldn't let the in-between stuff destroy your mental health or influence your decision-making. Does that make sense? Because for every one of these trades that stops out, I should say, there's at least one that wins in most cases, or for every 2 that stops out, you should have at least one that wins if you're trading the right stuff when it's going the right direction and things just line up for you. You can have a very low win rate and still be net profitable, or at least reduce those losses significantly compared to other traders just by using simple rules, right? Common sense rules. If you don't want to lose a bunch of money, you have that choice. You just need the skill set. And that skill set is just knowing stuff you don't know. And that's what we're here for. If you want to make money, right? There's a common sense rule for that. Make sure your profits are larger than your losses, right? So minimize your losses, make sure your profits are bigger than them, and be consistent and study yourself and figure out what's getting in the way of those concepts and you actually doing them. And that's that gap of specificity is where I specialize because I know all the stuff, but I don't want you to feel like you have to commit years to learning that stuff when we can just have a very simple conversation. Okay. So less is more, just making it simple is a lot better. And sorry, let me catch up on the chat here. Sorry, I covered the chat with my mouse. So, selling it is hard. The top is saying selling it is harder than buying it. Yeah, absolutely. But don't look at profits, just look at the setup. And in profit, all we need to do is follow the plan when our best friend, Mr. Stop Loss. Absolutely. You got to think about it. Like the chart is always going to be right. Just logically speaking, the chart is what makes price action cemented into history, right? It's just the x-axis and a y-axis. It's price versus time, okay? So it's just numbers on a graph, okay? And all we have to do is make sure that we're listening to this graph because the high will always be the high, the low will always be the low once that candle's locked in. If the price pushes higher, it's a new high for that candle, right? If it pushes lower while that candle's forming, it's going to be a lower low for that candle, okay? Once that candle closes, that's locked in forever. Okay, there we go, boom. That would be an exit action right there. We would have just got out, walked away, or I would have, because we're over the one of two levels that means something, but it doesn't. The goal here is to not have any real difference in the way that you feel about exiting a trade, whether it's for a profit or a loss, because both of these are wins, right? Because if your goal is to minimize losses and secure disproportionately larger profits, and you're able to do either of those on every single trade, you are a winning trader, right? You have wins. You just don't necessarily have profits on every single trade. And that, again, is just the result of discipline and execution and having rules that make sense and then trading the right stuff. I forgot where I was going before that, but but the chart's always going to be right, okay? So all we have to do is just listen to the chart. That tells me what to do. I don't try to anticipate. I don't have access to anything over here. This is an abyss. I don't know if it's going to be up here. I don't know if it's going to be down here. I don't know if it's going to be right here where it currently is. I just don't know. I can't tell you what price is going to be the price range for the 1044 candle right now. I can tell you at 1045. I could tell you throughout 1044, but I can't tell you now when it's 1038 or 1037, right? But many, many traders try to do that and they end up destroying themselves. So if we base our actions on things that have already happened the right way, we'll have a good time. Okay, so let me catch up here. Unknown ass. I still like that username. Thank you. Really helpful talk. Sad I've been here for a minute and never seen you go live. Yeah, definitely. So I'm the lifetime coach and I do the free live streams on Tuesdays. So let me put this trial link in there too, because I don't remember seeing you in there. We get a 5-day free trial. It starts up every Monday. It goes all the way through Friday. So if you want to see me on Monday and Friday as well, I'm in there. Otherwise, on the free side, I stream Tuesday morning and Friday morning for the Rags Richest team. And then Thursday morning this week, Mad Maverick is going live. But that trial is there for you guys. You get all this stuff. You get access to the coaching live streams. You get the alerts. You get the all the other premium live streams. The only thing you don't get as part of the trial that's part of premium is the ability to engage with the coaching program. So like you can't chat during the live stream and you don't get access to like the recorded education parts of the chats. And that's just so we don't disrupt the people that have paid. So that's kind of a fair solution, I think. But that trial is open to everybody. It's a one-time use, and then it's good for the full week. So we time it to open on a Monday and extend through a Friday so that people don't sign up on like a Saturday and don't really get anything on the weekend. So it's there for you. And otherwise, I'll be here, man. There's a safer world outside the low float momentum stuff, right? So come on out, get some fresh air and stability. We'll definitely. I do these a lot. So I try to keep things relatively simple and psychology oriented because that's what's more important. But I definitely go hard in the paint with the technical stuff as well. So I have the 65 class advanced course and blah, blah, blah. But we don't put that in front of people at the moment. So, but I think most people here, I think, can recognize that I have some knowledge, but I don't want to overcomplicate things because that doesn't help you. So pick one simple strategy and stick with it. That's my best advice. And that's probably only the very few pieces of advice I can actually give you. I can't tell you what to do in terms of buying and selling, but I can tell you just pick one simple strategy that makes sense. Don't worry about mastering technical analysis. It doesn't matter. It's all voodoo. That's going to make people mad, but it is what it is. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up on the chat. Yeah, Death Gun is awesome. We chatted for a couple of days and he's figured it out. Now he's running into a specific obstacle where he's just taking a series of small losses with wins sprinkled in, but it's mostly just small paper cuts, right? And that in itself is a win as a new trader because he's taking his losses and minimizing them. And that's something 90% of traders can't do. So I'm proud of him, even though he might be a little frustrated and a little bit discouraged, but he's crushing it. So just keep that going, Death Gun. And we can, I think that's just a matter of fine tuning the fuel that you're putting into that machine, which is a very easy fix. So let me pull this up here to single chart as well, just so we can watch CWD for a little bit more. Yeah, Death Gun, and you have a coach as well. You have Mad Maverick as a coach, so I would love to see you harass the hell out of him. Make sure you give him hell. If I don't see a significant impact in his blood pressure this week, you and I are going to have a talk. I'm just kidding. But definitely ask him. Extract everything you can while you're here. You have no clue what to ask him? Tell him that. Be like, hey, I want to learn your strategy, and I want to learn how you trade, but I'm not sure what to ask. That itself is a question, and that can open such a valuable conversation. So definitely just get in there. Just the first step is just making noise, right? Just get it out, whatever it is, right? Top says, Mr. Pookies, learn me everything. Dude, I can still hear your voice. That's awesome. It took time and I lost a lot of money, but learned it all here from him. So buy no stocks, but your time with him. I appreciate that, man. You have an incredible set of self-discipline, by the way. So I'm super proud of you. Like you and you're definitely my favorite student. Like no offense, anybody else here, but Top is definitely, he gets it. He already came to the table with that mindset. It was amazing. We just helped you fill in a couple gaps. Click one if offended. Oh no. 3 if you're Snowflake. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't have ranked you guys in hindsight. But I wouldn't have said it if Top wasn't that much better. No, I'm just kidding. That's horrible. That's really bad. I shouldn't say that. No, you guys are all great, but Top is just, he's a whole different animal. I love it. And he's humble. Like he's insanely humble. I love it. But I'm super glad that we got to meet Top, and I'm super glad that we got to dig in and look at you now, killing it. Bad with Chris, Pookie's a quantum computer. Oh no, I hope not. My qubits, help my qubits. You're out of sync. Mad Maverick is a great coach. Yeah, thank you, JWag. Bull is too. So Bull's kind of he's kind of the dark horse, right? Because he's got less exposure in terms of what he teaches. He does the earnings live streams on the free side, but his strategies are much more easy to maintain. Like it's a little more complex because it's options, but his strategies are pretty self-working, if I can say that. They're a lot lower stress. They're not as shiny, but the profits are insane. So anybody that's got a couple $1,000s, in my opinion, should be over there. Anyone who's got less than a couple $1,000s should be in Mad Maverick's coaching. That's probably one of the best determining factors, in my opinion, for where people should kind of branch into. But if you're on a smaller account, absolutely just jump into Mad Maverick's coaching. I'll put the link here as well. Don't ever feel like this is a sales pitch. I'm just putting it here for those who are ready. and he streams Thursday morning, so you can show up and ask him questions as well. But you're going to get a lot more in the coaching program. And if you're on a small account, just looking for stability and a simple strategy that just works and builds profits over time, that's where everybody should start, in my opinion. If you have a couple thousand, then I'll put Bull's link in here as well. And again, I'm just putting this in front of you guys for when you're ready. There's no pressure. You don't have to buy anything. And a lot of you guys are in lifetime already, so you guys get access to it. But for those who aren't, it's there when you're ready. And he's nice. But with that said, it is 10:45, and I do have to jump off here pretty soon. I'll give everybody here a little bit more time just to ask questions, and then I got to jump off. Death Gun, got to go watch his videos first. Tammy says, hate when I'm watching a stock for a swing and don't pull the trigger, and the next day it's up 15%. Almost bought Yalla yesterday and said I would wait until today. Well, Tammy, remember, you're already killing it. You don't need to, right? What happened there, the positive takeaway, is that you put yourself in front of a high potential setup that happened to work out. You just weren't in it, and that's okay. So you successfully hunted, right? You went out there to the woods, you got your skunk spray and all that on, you got your camo, you went in the tree stand, you waited patiently. And then instead of, going for it, you just kind of clap your hands and scare it away. Right? But that's okay. Everything up to that point was still perfectly executed, I'm assuming, right? So that's the win. It's that you put yourself in position to find a good high potential, low risk setup, and it just happened to work out. With a little bit of timing issue there. Still frustrating. Yeah, it's going to be frustrating. You guys see it all the time. I got a stock was like 1 cent from my take profit, right? That happens. And that's okay. AIP. I didn't trade AIP. I didn't even put it out as an alert. We were looking at it a couple times here in Lifetime and in Premium. On July 1st, I think, was when we started. Yeah, it was around here. Is when we started looking at it. And we're just waiting for this channel to break, and then they had earnings, and I didn't trade that one. Yeah, it happens. That's how you know you're on the right track, is you're going to get missed opportunities that are fulfilled, right? Sorry, let me catch up here. Babu Chris, got to go. Thanks, Pookie. I said you're a quantum computer in a good way, by the way. Yeah. Oh, I gotcha. I appreciate it. I like kind of being viewed that way, because then hopefully that gives it more credibility when I say that technical analysis is a lot less important than people make it, right? Because I've learned it all. I know it all. It doesn't matter nearly as much as people think it does. Love that you're sharing all that knowledge of yours with us. Have a great day, guys. You too, man. I can't see if you're still here, but if you are, or watching the recording, it was great hanging out. I appreciate you being here. We got our, I want to say favorite Canadian, but I gotta tone it down apparently with the ranking people. Top, yeah, for sure. But just everyone knows it takes time, and you have to find your own path. Yeah, absolutely. But Mr. Pookie's always be on my shoulder when I make a trade, and more when I lose a trade. That's what we need. So buy your time and give yourself all the time, and never give up. Yeah, because one day you will see it, and then you can make your own plan and study it in and out every day. The day you think you are there is the day you are lost. Absolutely, you will never make it. That's not a mindset that anyone should ever have if they want to remain humble and successful, right? So thank you, Top. That was beautifully worded. And just making sure that you're constantly learning. That's the key takeaway there from Top, is that you just have to keep making progress, even if it's not successful day after successful day. There's still a lot of value in the days that are not successful. And that's where we get our growth opportunities. So good stuff. All right. Well, with that said, though, I do have to jump off here. Let me end the live stream recording. I'm going to put that link in the for Lee's live stream. I'll put that over here in the social media as well. And then I'll grab this recording for you guys. I'll share it in the free live stream channel. Let me end the recordings and the live streams. Thank you all for hanging out there. And I'll be in Discord here in a second.